Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Maverick Mindset Radio Show. I am Adam Williams.
And I'm Ashley Muckenhop.
And this is the radio show for the dreamers and doers. It's for those who are willing to step into the arena.
Some call us the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers.
We don't accept the status quo. We leave the world better than we find it.
We approach each day with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind. We maintain irrational optimism about the future.
This is the Maverick Mindset Radio Show, brought to you by me, Adam Williams. I'm so happy to be here today.
I'm so happy we got through that without any bloopers.
You know what? Joel tried messing it up. He adjusted something in my headset during the intro, and all of a sudden I sounded different, better.
Better?
He does a great job.
Okay.
It's just timing was a little off. So, yeah, we're back. Show 55.
Already. That's kind of cool.
I feel like I've been doing this forever.
Thanks.
We have a great topic today. I'm pretty excited about this one. I struggled to arrange this one in my brain.
Yeah.
I had a bunch of good talking points, but I couldn't.
I did too, because we'll talk about it, but it's such a confusing topic with other types of labels like leaders and stuff that I was trying to differentiate what this was from everything else.
Yeah.
My brain was like, no. And then I got it.
My brain is often like, no. You gotta tell that.
Yeah.
You got to tell yourself to shut up and just do it. All
Get
right.
out of your way.
And that's why we're here. So what's show 55? What are we
Show
doing today?
55 is Guided by Greatness, How Mentors Shape Mavericks.
That was a good one.
That was a good one.
I was pretty. I've been telling you we need to zhuzh up the topics a little bit. And
I did.
I like that one.
I judged it.
So that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about mentors, coaches, learning from others. And so if you think you've got to figure it all out. Okay, let me say that again. If you think you have to figure it all out on your own, this is the show for you. Yeah. This is going to be a good one. So before we hop into it, as always, blowing your minds every Wednesday at 9, going live at 9:05, Maverick Mindset Radio on Facebook. Check us out on Spotify, YouTube, the Apple Podcast. That is not in my notes, and I have to add that. We're on Apple Podcasts. All the episodes are up there. And then, of course, MaverickMindsetRadio.com. This is your friendly reminder that I know you're going to like what you hear. I make that guarantee.
Yeah.
And if you like it, share the show. Tag us, put us in your stories, share us on social media, because we got to get this word out there. Plus, we haven't talked about this much. I have some big things coming up on some big. I say stages, but I don't mean stages. We got a couple big podcasts coming up that we have booked, not ours, but I'm a guest on other people's podcasts. So we gotta spread the word here, because I'm doing my part. I'm putting in the work.
I'm showing up.
Yeah. Now it's your turn to go out and share the show. So, all right, what's our quote of the day today that you didn't make up from ChatGPT? This is...
No, you're like, I have the quote. I'm doing it. I'm like, okay. So the quote of the day is, life is too short to make all the mistakes on your own. And you chose that. Why did you choose that?
Because I learned it the hard way.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of this. I went and thought I had to do everything and figure it all out on my own. And I wasn't always the most coachable person, and I wasn't always open to other people's ideas, and it cost me big time.
Yeah.
It cost me time, delayed success, cost me money, cost me heartache and emotional pain. So that's it. We're talking today about how you can benefit from a mentor relationship. And
because you don't have all the answers.
And here's a good example of that. This is a topic that if I heard this years ago, I wouldn't even listen to it. This wouldn't be of interest to me. And that's always an interesting concept, right? The topic or the education or the lesson that you're avoiding is often the one that you need the most. Mm-hmm. And this is one for me that I wouldn't have paid attention to this.
It's funny you say that, because I was thinking about that today, and I think you have to be, there's two parts, being the mentor and the mentee.
Yep. And we're going to address both sides of that today.
But in either position, you have to be ready for it. And I think that it comes at certain times when you're ready. I think some people seek it out. And some people, it just happens like, oh my God, I have a mentor or I've become a mentor. But I think that it's not something that we generally think about.
Yes. And it's often forced.
Yeah.
So when I was in law school, get a mentor, an upperclassman or someone who's in the profession, and they would create these mentorship programs. And then I got out in the real world and got a job, and they wanted to force these mentor programs. And often the mentors were like assigned, and it's like, here's who you're paired up with.
Yeah, I don't like that.
And that's why they don't work. It's forced. It doesn't happen naturally. You're not actually seeking out what you want in a mentor. And that's a lot of the stuff that we're going to talk about today is how can you find a good mentor? And how can you be a good mentor?
Yeah, because not everybody can be. I truly believe that, just like we've talked about like leaders, but I don't think it is in everybody to be a mentor. I think it takes a very specific and special person to fulfill that role, because what you're doing is essentially you are redefining the perception that somebody else has on life.
I'm going to disagree with you again.
I know you are.
Because I believe that everyone is a leader, and I believe that everyone is a mentor in some way, shape, or form. Often not intentionally, but we all, every single human being on this planet in some way, shape, or form leads by the example that they set.
Right.
And people look at that example and many of them emulate it. And that could be a recipe for disaster, because if you're not setting the right example, I mean, think about your kids, right? There's a way that I want to live to demonstrate for my kids what I believe will make them happy and fulfilled and successful when they grow up. But I have to lead by that example. I've got to be genuine about it. If I'm not intentional about that, they're going to learn the wrong thing.
Yeah.
If I'm not intentional about it in my business, if I tell you guys to do things, but I myself am not setting that example, you're not going to believe me. Or if I'm setting a bad example without even explaining what I want, but just by you observing what I do, that's leadership, that's mentorship, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it's good. So, a Volkswagen ID Buzz just drove by.
But see, Fun. I think
I have squirrel. All right, go ahead.
We're gonna redirect you. I think
come back. I want to be friends with you.
Being a mentor is separate than being a parent, being a friend, being a teacher, being a leader in business. I feel like, because this is what I was thinking a lot about. And this is why I think that not everybody can fulfill this role, is because it is separating you from, I am a parent to my children, and I have to lead by example, and I want to make good decisions because I'm shaping who they are as human beings. But I think a mentor is someone that has an impact on somebody outside of those roles where people are close to you. I think it is a stranger. I think it is the impact to change one person's life in a way that they have no other connection to you, but all of a sudden there they are, they have chosen you and you have chosen them, and you are guiding them in a different way than anyone else in their life. Not their parent, not their teacher. It is a completely separate role. That's how I have defined mentor for me.
Okay. You're going to see though how that's true. Tell me, do you not understand that there are people out there that watch what you do in your daily life or on social media or in your job? There are people that watch what you do and they emulate or copy aspects of that.
Yes, but
so you're a mentor. You're a mentor, and you better be a good one.
Have they changed their perception on life and changed who they are? And is it my voice that they hear when they're making decisions or thinking about something they're going to do? It's one thing to copy what I do. It's another thing that in the midst of making decisions and becoming the person that I am, that person, their words, their experiences, the things that they have told me has changed what it is they're doing, and has changed who they are as a human being.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Let me give you what is seemingly a simple example, but it's an example to prove the point, because it's in my opinion a relatively minor thing.
Yeah.
You follow my wife on social media.
Yes.
What does she post every single day?
Her outfit.
Yes. And what is her theme for May?
Patterns. Florals.
April is patterns. May is florals. Okay. When you pick out your outfit for the day, doesn't part of that pop into your head?
Every day.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Jackie has set this example where she cares very much about the outfit that she chooses for the day. She's very intentional about it. And you know, she wears white on days where she's got to be in a good mood and radiate, and then she wears black on days where she's got to absorb this stuff for other people. She's very intentional about it.
Yes.
And that has now influenced you.
Yes.
Okay. So Jackie does it. Do you not realize that the same thing happens with you? People see what you do in person or on social media, and there are seeds of that get planted in their brains.
Well, I'd hope so. But I don't know.
It's absolutely true. How about this radio show?
Yeah.
Every single Wednesday morning, you sit in this studio at 9 a.m. and you say things and you do things and you act a certain way. And this is with the direct intention of influencing other people.
Yes.
Maverick Mindset Mentor Radio.
There we go. We're rebranding.
So that's what I'm saying. And here's why I'm belaboring this point is you have an obligation.
Yeah.
You have an obligation through the way that you live and the standards that you set and the goals that you have and the ways that you behave and the decisions that you make, because whether you like it or not, or whether you admit it or not, you influence other people.
Yeah. But that was taught to me by, it's no secret. I look at you and Jackie as my mentors. I would not be sitting here had you not set that example that this was something that I could do.
Oh yeah.
Right? So
that's the best part.
That's the whole point is
I'm now amplifying my impact through you.
Yeah.
There was a direct impact on you.
Yes.
Over the last, has it been 4 years?
Yeah.
Okay. And I also know that that impact now gets magnified, amplified, multiplied through you.
Yeah.
So now my obligation is even greater if I want to think about it, because it's not just the people that I impact directly, but it's the people that I impact and the people that they impact. Woof.
Yeah. So that's what I think makes a mentor.
Yes.
Yeah.
So going back to what I was saying, I think the forced mentorship programs fail.
Yeah.
I think it really puts a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, and they say, this isn't going to work for me. But I'm going to tell you it is going to work for you. And today we're going to lay out how to make it work. So let me give you an example. Let me tell you a story. Probably, it's now the second best vacation that Jackie and I have ever taken. Until we went to Bora Bora, it was number one. Jackie and I went to Costa Rica a couple years ago.
I was going to say Chile or Costa Rica.
We didn't go to Chile, yeah. Costa Rica. It was awesome. And if you've never been to Costa Rica, I am not sponsored by the Tourism Association of Costa Rica. You have to check it out because it's like the size of West Virginia, and it's the most biodiverse planet or biodiverse country on the planet.
It's like another planet.
It is because you can go from like rainforest jungle to volcanoes to beachside towns.
Wow.
And not, again, the size of West Virginia.
Yeah.
And there's so many different species of animals. It's just such a cool place. So we did all the stuff. You know, we did I don't think we went ziplining, but we did the like rainforest hike, and we...
Wasn't there the yoga? Like, didn't they have that there? Was it there or Bora Bora?
I'm sure.
It was like on a platform or something?
Actually it was both of those places have that. But we did all the activities. We did the hike through the like national park and had a guide show us all these animals that we wouldn't have otherwise noticed. He would pull out his telescope and find like this 2-inch long frog on a tree, 500 feet away. It was really cool. And we did the 4-wheelers and went fishing and all that stuff. So we decided to go surfing. And I think when a lot of people, if you've never surfed before, it's hard. Like you watch these guys do it on TV or on the internet or whatever, and they're surfing these 10, 20, 50-foot waves, and you're like, well, yeah, that's impressive. And then you get to a place where they teach newbies, and the waves are like 2 feet tall, and you're like, I can do that. It's not that. You hop on the board and paddle out and hop up on the board. Turns out it's really hard. Your feet are pointed the wrong way. Your arms are pointed the wrong way. You're off balance. You don't even know how to get up on the board. And thankfully we had so it looks easy, right?
Yeah.
From an outside perspective, you see people surfing small waves, and if you've never done it before, your thought probably is, that's not that impressive.
Right.
And then you go out and do it, and you're like, well, this is way harder than I thought. I hope you're seeing the analogy to business.
I am.
It doesn't look that hard. And then you go and do it, and you're like, well, I never expected it to be this hard, right?
This is way hard.
But fortunately, we had this guy there with us that would paddle out with us, and when the wave came, he would hold the board in place, and he would actually, like when the wave would bring us in, he'd hold on to the back of the surfboard to keep it stable, and then he'd tell you, get up now. And then he'd let go of the board, and you'd coast in the last, whatever, 10s or 20s or 30 feet. Without that guy, that would have been a miserable experience.
But a lot of falling.
It would have been horrible. We would have fallen all over the place. We would have tried it 5 times and said, well, this is not fun.
Yeah.
But with that guy there showing us how to do something that looked seemingly easy, we were surfing by the end of that lesson.
Yeah. And
it was cool, and we could get up on our own. And it's the same thing with business. You can go and, not just business, life.
Yeah.
You can go and struggle through and try and figure this out on your own, but just having somebody there to teach you how to do it, somebody who's been there before, can have such...
Yeah, the right person, the experienced person.
Yeah. So I think it's important to understand too, like this is not just a business thing. So I'll give you some examples of the types of mentors that we've worked with in the past, right? And this goes back to what we were talking about of basically like, who do you admire? Who do you look up to? Who do you want to be like? I have found that I have not met anyone that wants to do things the way that I want to do them and that wants to have the outcomes that I want to have in every aspect of my life.
Right.
So there are people that I admire as parents, and I take tips from them on how to be a parent. There are obviously people that I admire as business owners, and as leaders and as visionaries, and there are aspects of their life that I emulate or take advice from them. There are people that I admire as husbands that I watch what they do and I emulate that. I have not found that person that checks all of the boxes in every aspect of my life.
Right.
And the reality is I never will. And the reality is you never will either, right? There's nobody who's living the exact life that you want. And personally, I think that's really empowering because it reminds us that like we have control. Like where I'm at right now in my life is the direct result of... I keep stumbling over these seemingly easy words. I'm dehydrated today. Okay. I lost myself on that one. But there are... I completely lost my train of thought on that. But
were we getting to the point that there's you can have different mentors to fulfill the different parts of your life? There's not going to be one.
Oh, so I was talking about how empowering that is.
Yeah.
Because so your life right now is a direct result of the decisions that you've made.
Yes.
Like accept it or not, but you should accept it because it's the truth. You had control. You made decisions to do or not do things, and it put you in the position that you are right now.
We had choice.
Well, let's look forward and where you want to be 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 20 years from now. That will be the direct result of the decisions that you're making today.
And the people you surround yourself with.
So if you start with where you want to be and make the decision that you're going to get there, and then you do the things that you need to do to get there, great, that's really empowering.
Yeah.
And it's helpful. And so entrepreneurs, we tend to be really impatient, right? We want the results faster than we're normally getting them. My perspective on that is there's a good reason to be impatient and a bad reason to be impatient there.
Okay.
So I look at it as I can be patient for the result, but I'm not going to be patient for the actions I have to take.
Okay.
Yes. And that's the difference is we get so hung up on, I got to get to the destination. I got to get to the finish line. I got to accomplish this goal. And that can be really discouraging and it can be really frustrating versus I have to start now. I have no time to wait. I'm looking right now at the kids' schedule for school next year, and they have like 2 weeks off for Christmas, the way that the days fall and the way when school ends. And I know that right now, the decisions I'm making, the things I'm tolerating, the things I'm forcing will impact that 2 weeks of my life and whether I get to spend it the way that I want to spend it.
Yeah.
And I think that gets lost on a lot of people. So let's bring it back. If you can figure out or at least decide what you think you want things to look like, then you can go and find the people that have that or have aspects of that you can go and learn from. And this is a reason for me, like I really, really struggle to take business advice from people that don't have kids.
Yes, you said.
I say it all the time because it really frustrates me, right? Like one of the things that okay, let's take a step back. I think there's two things that you need to do to be a good mentee, to make it worth the mentor's time, right? Because mentors are valuable. They get you where you want to go faster and better and maybe even farther than you ever thought that
they're investing in you.
100%. And there's value to it,
yes.
Right? They're like that. They may be able to take you farther than you ever thought was possible, right? There are things that I've done in my life that I didn't even believe were possible until I had a mentor in my life show me that it could be done. So as a mentee, if you're taking advice from someone or if you're emulating someone or if you're just watching what they do, there's two things that you have to do. First, you have to make a decision because advice is often conflicting. because people are coming to it with their perspective and not your perspective. So I may ask for advice from 10 different people on one issue. Should I do this? Should I not do this? And if I do it, how can I make it successful?
Yeah.
I may get 10 different answers. It's going to come down to me to decide which one I want to do. I can't delegate that decision making in a way that's going to make me happy or fulfilled or successful. I can delegate that decision if I want to be able to pass the blame on someone else, but that's not the point of this, right? We're not avoiding blame. We're accomplishing goals. We're leading fulfilling lives. So you have to take the advice and make the decision. So this is a challenge for me because I get really good business advice from people that don't have kids. And then I step back and say, yeah, but I want to be at the football games. I want to be at the soccer games. I want to volunteer at their school. I don't want to spend 7 days a week, 16 hours a day doing the thing.
They don't have the experience of having kids to be able to tell you or advise you in what direction to go and how to be successful with that aspect of it.
It's an added pressure.
Yeah.
And it is, and I mean pressure in a good way, right? Yeah. I don't do things with my kids out of guilt. I do it because I want to do it. I have a desire to do it. So I'm going to get advice from business people that don't understand the aspect of having kids or don't understand the aspect of having a spouse. Or maybe they don't even understand the aspect of, I don't want to spend my day answering emails, right? Somebody else does that for me. And if there's somebody that just says, yeah, you just got to sit down in your inbox and blah, 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 I'm not going to take that advice. Yeah. So step one is you have to make the decision when you get the conflicting advice. And then step two, you got to do the work. And I think that's an important thing with a mentor, with a coach, with anybody in this role. They can give you the advice, but you've still got to put in the work.
Yeah.
This is not a relationship where they're doing things for you. This is a relationship where they're helping to guide you, and then you got to go out and do it. And this is the most frustrating part of being a mentor. In fact, I believe it's one of the reasons that mentors should get paid in most instances.
Because you see the person not doing it.
No, they're more likely to do it.
Yeah.
If they're bought in, if they're invested.
Yeah.
If I write somebody a check, I've given away so much good free advice in my life. And then I've seen people fall on their face because they didn't take it or they didn't do the work. Versus if they wrote me a check or swiped their credit card for $10,000, they'd put the work in. And that's the frustrating part is as a mentor, I'm sitting there saying, I told you what you needed to do. I gave you guidance. I've been where you're trying to go. Yeah. I know the landmines. I know the hurdles. I know the distractions. I know the things that are going to cause you to fail. And then you didn't do it.
Yeah.
And that's really tough. So and that's not just true for mentor-mentee relationships.
Because then they're coming to you being like, why?
Yeah, it didn't work. There are so many people that I know. I mean, we got involved really heavily in personal and professional development, I guess about 6 years ago now. And there's still people that I met at the very first seminar that I went to that are constantly looking for that next coaching program. What's the next thing I can do? What are you getting out of this? I'm thinking about switching. But if you looked at their lives, they're not doing the stuff that these coaches are telling them to do. I mean, one of the best things that we did is we took probably a year off from having any coaching relationships.
Yeah.
And we just went and implemented all the stuff that we were being taught over the prior years that we weren't doing. We implemented a lot, and that's a reason that we were successful. But then when we said, if I don't have to spend every Tuesday at 10 a.m. sitting on a coaching call with this person, I can go and get more stuff done.
Yeah.
And that is the differentiator, is we took the action and we did the stuff.
You listened to the point where you understood what the action was.
Yeah.
And then
so let's talk a little bit about what to look for in a mentor. And again, this is with the frame of you will have more than one mentor in your life.
Yes.
You will have more than one mentor at a time. And in fact, over time, you may outgrow some of those mentors. The people that
because you're growing.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully. The people that I looked up to and the people that I learned from when I was first starting my law practice, I'm so grateful that they were there. And I'm grateful that I listened to them, and I'm grateful that I made the decisions and then I took the action. I'm also grateful at some point I stopped listening to them and started listening to people that were closer to where I wanted to be or who had already achieved what I wanted to be. So there were a lot of lawyers when I started that had a practice where they would have a full-time secretary or paralegal, or maybe 1.5 employees.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they were happy, but they to me were what you could achieve as an attorney. And then I went and met other law firm owners that had teams of 10, 15, 20, 25, 100 employees, and realized, whoa, I want that.
Yeah.
I want to be doing that instead of this. So here's what to look for.
Okay.
Number 1, experience with what you're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of tired of seeing people on the internet saying, hire me to help you, but they haven't actually done it. They've read books, they've studied it, they've seen other people do it, but they themselves haven't done it. I am trapped in this Facebook group right now from a guy that's a coach who's teaching you how to become a coach. And there's a bunch of people in this group that have never built anything in their entire lives. And they're going to go out and they're going to learn marketing, and they're going to learn how to sell this, and they're going to get $5, $10, $15, $20,000 from people to coach them, but they haven't actually done it. So it's really important for me, and I'm not against people selling coaching services, but I dig a layer deeper and say, all right, what have you actually built? What have you actually done?
Right. I think I've struggled with that before, where it's like, you think, how can I possibly provide advice or coach someone in something? You must have to have some type of education or certificate connected to that. And then I think I had that conversation with you, and you're like, what about just the experience and going through it?
Yep.
Just that direction. Like, that's something that somebody that just might have a certificate or education because they went to school to learn how to coach somebody, but doesn't have the experience. How far is that going to get somebody?
It's actually more likely that they learned how to sell coaching services and not that they learned how to be a good coach.
Yeah.
Right? They've learned how to ask the right questions and dig into pain points and get somebody to an emotional decision and then pull out their credit card.
Yeah.
And it's built to take their money, and those businesses are often structured and planned for significant refunds.
Yeah.
But the idea is you sign up enough people and you get enough people to pay you, and then you refund some of them that's still at the end of the day, I've made good money. So I think that's step 1, is someone who's been where you want to be. And again, this may only be in one aspect of your life. There are people that I admire in our local community that do really good things for our community. Mm-hmm. They don't have the businesses that I have. They don't have the family that I have. They don't have the lifestyle that I have. They don't have the material things that I have. They don't have the team that I have, but they do cool stuff in our community that inspires me. So I'm gonna look to them on that, right? How have you made an impact in the community of Erie, Pennsylvania? Cool. I want to be part of that, or I want to do it similarly to that, or here's the way that I want to do it.
Yeah, because I think people that are having an impact on other people or communities or things like that, there is some type of values or their core values that you're looking at that you want to have, or you strive to have. So I think that's when we're looking at people that you said they don't have all of these other things, but they're making an impact. There is something within them as a human being that they want to do that. And that's what I like. Do you have something built within you that you want to change something for somebody?
Yep.
That's a must for me. If you don't have that, I don't want to hear what you have to say.
My current mission, something that so Royce is going into high school next year. So I'm like, I myself am going through quite a transition right now, because I'm not mature enough to have a high schooler. Okay. Like I'm not it. So I'm looking for inspiration. So I'm seeking right now good dads. Right?
Seeking good dads. It's like an ad.
Yeah. Help wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm on the lookout. It's on my radar. Like, what are good dads doing?
Yeah.
Right? Because Royce wants to play football, which I'm going to talk about. But like, I'm thinking, man, if he sticks with this and he's on varsity, I'm going to be the dad that buys the bus and paints it orange and throws the tailgates and drives the team to events and hosts like, I want to be that dad. Yeah. Right? Because I've seen those dads. My dad was one of those dads. Yeah. Right? We had a bus. He never painted it, but he did customize it. It was pretty cool. So yeah, I'm looking for good dads right now. And in fact, I especially on social media, see, one of my friends just took his son to Legoland in Florida for his birthday. I'm like, dude, you're a good dad. That's cool, right? Yeah. I know that this is not a cheap trip, and if you've been to Legoland, it sucks. I'm gonna get sued. If you've been to Legoland, it's well. Here's the thing.
We're never going there.
It's not Disney, right? It's not Disney, and a distant second to that would be Universal. Legoland is an even more distant third.
Okay.
But if your kid's into it, you support it. That's cool, right?
Yeah.
It's not a cheap date, but man, that you're a good dad. All right, so I'm on the lookout for good dads. Second thing to look for in a mentor, I think they need some sort of system. So even going back to point number one, where you want to work with somebody who's been where you're going, I believe that they need to understand what actually got them there. There are plenty of people out there that have achieved business success, for example, and they've done it by accident or not intentionally, and they don't actually understand what got them there. This is why we talk about failure so often.
Yes.
In fact, I was listening to another Tony Hawk podcast last night that I sent you. Did you listen to it?
The one that you sent me?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
It's good because he talks so much about like the host. So it was Brad Lee's podcast with Tony Hawk, and Brad was asking him like, "Aren't you afraid of getting hurt?" And Tony's like, "Sure, but last time I got hurt, I changed my approach and didn't get hurt the next time I did it." And that's how I learn. And it's like, man, I don't think Tony Hawk understands the brilliance of what he's saying there.
No, because it's just what he lives.
Yeah.
It's
So Tony Hawk and Brad Lee were so focused on the physical pain, and where I wish they had, if I was in that room, I would have said yes. But do you also understand in the business world, it's not just physical; it's rarely physical pain. Now, if you're out swinging a hammer, yes, there's your back's gonna hurt, but it's also the spiritual and emotional pain of like of being taken advantage of, being it's a long way to the top if you run a rock and roll, being beat down, being broken, being robbed, getting stoned, like in the negative sense, not in the hippie sense. I wish that they had gotten more into that, but if you're looking for a mentor, I believe you want someone who understands what made them successful and also had some failures, because that's what really helped them.
And understands the hard part of the. I look at, so I mean, I right now I look at Jackie and all of the work she's doing and the struggles with it and what she's carrying, and she doesn't hide that it's hard, that it's a struggle, but on the other aspect of that, it's the keep going, keep pushing, and even on the days that it's hard, still trying to find the positive. And for me, I think of that when I'm sitting there in my mind complaining about something that I have to do or something that's hard, and I'm like, well, holy crap, this person over here is doing way more than I am and finding a way to push through it. I am too. If they can do it, I can do it. And I think it's in that moment where when you're sitting in your stuff, if you can look at what somebody else is sitting in and how they're getting through it. And that's important to know, that it's like, and it's important to show people that it's not just easy. It's not just simple. All this other stuff goes behind it. And then there's these really great moments that come out of it.
Yeah.
It's the story behind it.
Jackie and I were talking about this a little bit last night, that we both often feel that we're not doing enough.
Yeah.
So when we compare to our goal, and I'll call it the process, not the outcome goal, not how much money we want to make and blah, 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 but more like, am I putting in the work?
Yeah.
We often look at where we want to be with that and we say we're not there. But every now and then it's beneficial to take a step back, and I'm not one for comparing myself to others, but every now and then it's worth doing it. Mm-hmm. And we did it last night, and we said, think of all the other people that we've talked to in the last 3 days who have dealt with something.
Yeah.
And have just completely curled up in a ball or given up or said, I can't do this, or haven't been willing to figure it out. And it's like, we're taking that to the 10,000th degree of, fine, throw something at me. It's not going to stop me.
Yeah.
It's going to slow me down. And man, that mindset, she sets a good example with that. Like she can push through so much, but also like deal with the underlying issues. Like it's a healthy way of pushing through, but really like shutting down that wimpy voice in your head that says you can't do this, you're not worthy of this, it's not going to work out. So yeah, that's a good one. The other thing I like about having a system is the good ones are simple to understand. Mm-hmm. So Royce is in 8th grade. He wants to play football in high school. He's never played a down of football in his life.
Oh, wow.
I am terrified of this.
So he's like, I'm doing this.
Right, because it's going to be tough for him. He's getting in there with kids that have been playing for 4 or 5 years, and they're talented. right? And they understand. He understands the game, but not how to play it. He can watch it. He can.
Some of the
comment on it.
greats did not start until
what's really
was
funny?
it Michael Jordan's sophomore year?
Maybe.
Yeah.
So actually, that's really funny. So we met the JV coach. They don't have a freshman team at Prep anymore. So we met the JV coach. They had a mandatory meeting Sunday night. This is the story that I'm going to tell. But we met the JV coach, and I introduced myself, and Royce introduced himself, and I said, he's really excited, loves football, never played it down in his life. And he said, where does he go to school? I said, Erie Day School. He goes, one of the all-time great prep football players went to Erie Day School, never played it down in his life, and went on to success. Well, that guy was actually in my class.
Really?
Yeah. It was
You're like, I know him.
So I'm like, yeah, Charles Rush, obviously, right? Played at Penn State, and he's actually an attorney now and business owner and does some really great stuff. I think it was his sister that is running for district judge locally, but Charles is a really great guy. He's on the board at Prep now. So I messaged him after the coach said that, because there's hope. But again, that is a great coach, mentor, leader thing to say, is it's been done before, but now it's up to Royce to put in the work. Like, we got to be hitting the gym. We got to be working out.
Yeah.
We got to be stacking some weights and doing this if you want to get to that point, because Charles didn't get to where he was or where he is because he got lucky.
Yeah, it's one thing to be on the team, but if you want to be great on the team, you got to do the work.
So it was an hour and a half long meeting that we went in for, and everybody, 8th grade through 12th grade, is there. So you got, well, I guess 12th grade, because they're the guys that are going to be seniors. So we had Coach Mishler is back at Prep. He took a couple of years off. I think he's done it a couple times now, but he's back again.
Yep.
And the guy's legendary. And my senior year of high school, they won the state championship. And I think it was the first one that they had won either ever or in a really long time. They've won like 7 since then, all led by Coach Mishler. And I didn't know the guy that well. I didn't play football. I was a cheerleader. And which cheerleaders in 2001 and at all boys Catholic high school is not your typical stereotypical cheerleader. I have some good stories about that too. We did one playoff game. We were just maniacs, right? And they would let us on the field. So there was one game where the other team had these cheerleaders that were like gymnasts, and they would tumble and do backflips. Yeah. I walked out to the 50-yard line and I did a backward somersault, and our sideline went nuts. Like, it was the most hilarious thing, in my opinion. So anyway, I've never really interacted much with Coach Mishler, but he is a legendary coach, right? He I believe sets the standard for football coaching in Erie, Pennsylvania. So he's talking, and it was so cool, because he's 20 minutes in, and he stops and he goes, "Hey, Cody, sit up," because there's a kid in the front row of the auditorium slouching, and I'm like, "Yep, here we go, this guy." Then he keeps talking, and he's explaining. I mean, good coaches learn from other coaches, right? Yeah. Another mentor-mentee idea, whether you work with them directly or read their books or listen to them. So he starts talking about the standard, and I'm like, I am now engaged. Yeah. Like, this is a guy that gets it. And he references Mike Tomlin, who says the standard is the standard, which I think is such a great quote. Like, the standard is the standard, and if you're below that, you're gone. Yeah. You're out, right? So that was super cool. And then he said, all right, there's my system. This year, we got 5 Fs. And it starts with faith, Catholic school, right? Going to lead with that. Family. Yep. Fiscal, which he explains when you grow up and you're an adult, you got to work. You got to provide for your family. At your age, your fiscal responsibility is your grades. Yeah. 4th comes football, and 5th comes fun. Mm-hmm. And he didn't go into a ton of depth on all of those things, but I got it, right? Like, he's got his priorities set out that basically says faith, family, fiscal, football, put in the work. Yeah. Then number 5, you can go and have fun. And hopefully you enjoy all those other things, but fun can't be the priority over those other things if you're not doing what you need to do. So I'm ready to strap on a helmet at this point, right? Like, Adam's
like, now I'm playing.
Yeah, I've never played down a football in my life, but I'm like,
somehow I feel like you're going to find a way to be on the sidelines, whether it's the water boy
that wouldn't be that. They need volunteers. I'm not sure I want to get there yet. I haven't made that decision. I got to talk to some other guys who have been there. It's tough though, because I'm competitive. Yeah. And Royce plays soccer. He's not great, but he's committed, right? Yeah. And he's passionate. He's not the best player on the team. I can't watch his soccer games with other parents around me. Yeah. I can't do it because they're chit-chatting and what's going on this weekend and what renovations are at your house. And I'm like, yo, we are in battle out here and you need to focus. So maybe I could do that on the sideline because I don't know. Like, these small high school stadiums, there's usually only bleachers on one side of the field, which means I got to sit with both sides of the parents. And like, I don't know, I'm going to need hoodies and sunglasses and hats to hide my identity and maybe some noise canceling headphones or something. So it was really cool. The next day we're driving to school and Royce is pumped up about football. Mm-hmm. So we're talking about this meeting because I'm fired up, but I'm trying not to this was his decision, right? I didn't push him to football. In fact, if I had a choice, I probably would have pushed him into another sport, but this is what he wants to do. Great. Let's do it. So I was like, hey, what are the 5 F's? And he goes, faith, family. I don't remember the other. Fiscal. Yeah, that's a weird word. Football and fun. Like he remembered it. Mm-hmm. So you've got a coach who's got a system, who's achieved success and understands what got him there and the priorities that he had to set. And he can explain it in a way that an 8th grader sits in a chair and listens for 90 minutes and it sticks the next day.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Well, that's what I said. It's his presence and how he delivered it and his belief in what he's saying that resonated with them enough to want to sit there. Now, I'm sure there are kids that it didn't, but I'm sure he knows that. And those are the kids that he's not going to invest in.
There were 10 kids who weren't at this mandatory meeting.
Yeah.
And he brought it up 10 times, I bet. Mm-hmm. And those are the kids that they'll be hearing about it.
Yep.
All right. So you want someone with experience, what you're trying to do. You want someone that has a system. And if they've built the system, it's because they understand what makes them successful. And I believe in a business setting, third thing to look for in a mentor, you got to pay him. You have to. Because there's free advice out there, but I probably 10 times a week get a message from someone that says, can I pick your brain? Can I take you out for coffee? Can I take you out for drinks? Can I take you out for lunch? No. My lunch is covered.
Yeah.
I'm good, right?
Good.
I've got an abundance of coffee in my life. Mm-hmm. And if I'm going to get in my car and drive to a coffee shop and sit and wait with you and chit chat with you and then pack up and leave and drive home, I'm committing a lot of time to that.
Yeah.
And there's value to what I want to share with you. Yes. Right. So I wish I had time for that. I wish I could do nothing but meet with people for free, but that's totally impractical.
I got lucky. I just had to work for you.
I'm paying you.
I know.
Although interestingly,
figure it out, people. You know what? Figure it out.
Let's say it. You've paid me back.
Yeah. Yes.
So you made the decision. You put in the work, and yes, it is a mutually beneficial, mutually profitable relationship.
Yes.
See, and that's how it should be. And it ain't about coffee.
No, it's not about. I think another one too, and I thought was important is mentors aren't afraid to call you on your stuff.
So actually, yes, that is a good point. I was going to put that in my category of how to be a good mentor. But yeah, that is something you should look for. Is you should really look for that person who's no BS, right? And I think that's a good example. Is when somebody says, "Can I pick your brain?" I say, "Yep." There's 2 ways that you can do it. Mm-hmm. Here's the fee and the booking link, or here's a charity that you can donate to. So it's not even about paying me, right?
Invest in this though.
You need to be committed.
Yeah.
So I was so frustrated by this one. I sent the guy the charity, right? It was the Emmaus Soup Kitchen in Erie, right? Great cause. And it's a nun who runs it. She's written some brilliant opinion pieces in the newspaper. Every time I see one, I email her. I'm like, you're good. You're good at this. I love it, right? So I said, yeah, you can donate $500 to them. And he goes, well, that's really interesting because I feel like if you were Christian, you would just do this for free. And I'm like, are you for real? Yeah. Are you for real?
Can't help that person.
No thanks.
And that's the thing. I think to be a good mentee, you've got to be prepared for the lessons and the feedback, and again, being called out on your crap by your mentor. And you have to be able and willing to take the feedback or the criticism, whatever it may be, and learn from it, and not expect that somebody is just going to hand over to you the advice and the answers. And one of the things, so we talk about David Nagel a lot, and you introduced...
Who's coming on the show, by the way.
I'm so excited.
He's coming on the show.
I'm
More
your
to
biggest
come on
fan,
that.
Dave. No, I'm just kidding. So that was somebody that you introduced me to listening to that I've learned a lot from. And I remember him saying in one of the workshops or whatever that I was in with him, because his mentor is Dan Kennedy. Is that who one of his mentors?
No, Bob Proctor.
Bob Proctor. Yep. Okay. So he said that was his mentor, and when he was learning in business and selling, he would constantly go back to Bob Proctor and say, this isn't working. I can't do this. I'm not seeing the results that we've talked about. And he said he did it like 4 or 5 times. And at no point did Bob Proctor say, here's what you have to do. Here is the answer, and do this. Instead, every time that David Nagel went back to him, he was saying, you'll figure it out. You're missing something. You're not looking at it the correct way. You have to go back and try again. And finally, he figured it out, and but it was from sitting there like, what has he taught me? What is his mindset? What would his perception be on this? What am I missing?
Yep.
And so I think it's that, don't expect that they're just going to hand you over the answers and provide you exactly with what you need to know.
I actually think being a good mentor comes back to the same quality that makes you a good salesperson, a good person, is listen more than you talk. Mm-hmm. I can't tell you how many times somebody has come to me with a problem, paid for me to solve it, and as they're explaining the problem, they say, I just figured it out. Right? I just needed to shut my mouth and listen. Now, cool, you fixed that first problem. Let's plan out the next, 5 things that you're going to face. But yeah, you got to be a good listener. It happens I do the same thing. I go to get advice from somebody, and our mastermind meets weekly, virtually. We're going to be in person in a week and a half. Actually, in a week, I fly down there. And it's the same thing. I get on every Monday, and I'll say, well, I have a question about this, and it's like, and I just figured it out. Yeah. Like I now have my answer. So I think so you were talking about, I think a good mentor kind of calls you on your BS or shows you your blind spots or helps you find the truth.
Yes.
And yeah, I think that's vitally important. A good mentor is not someone who buys your excuses.
Yeah. Yes.
In fact, they're ones who tell you to do something else with your excuses. Mm-hmm. So I think that's really important. Second thing is, I think they need to be a good sounding board. They need to be a good listener. I think it's also important for a mentor to know their limits. That if somebody comes to me with something that I frankly don't have experience with, I have to be willing to admit that. I have to be willing to accept the fact that I can't help you with everything, right? Yeah. If you're coming to me on the best insurance to buy for your business, I don't know, right? But I should be able to point you in the right direction. Yeah. Whether that's, something to go learn or research or study, or someone else to connect with on that, right? So I think that's really important. I think a lot of people that get into the business of being paid coaches or mentors act like know-it-alls, and it's to the detriment of the mentee. So I think it's really empowering. I think it's really beneficial if you can say, you know what, I don't know. I can't help you with that.
Yeah.
But here's what I can help you with. Here's the next step. Here's the next move. So I think that's really important. I think probably the best mentor relationships that I have had, I said earlier that the mentor doesn't do the work for you. You still have to put in the work. But I think a good mentor will help you hold yourself accountable.
Yes. And that's a hard thing to do, because most of the time we don't want to hold ourselves accountable. We'd rather find the excuse or put blame or live in a victim mindset. Yeah. So allowing somebody to get you to be accountable, but to see the accountability you hold in something, that's like a feat in itself. Like I really.
And there's different approaches to this.
Yeah.
And I think the best mentors understand the different approaches.
Yeah.
So there are instances where to get someone to do the thing they said you would do, you've got to show up at their house with a hammer in your hand, right? There are other times where it's just that quick text message. Hey, you said you would do X by Tuesday. It's Monday. Where are you at?
Yeah.
Right. I've had other mentors that I've seen will ship. They'll buy a boot, like a Timberland boot, and throw it in a box and ship it to you and say, "This is your kick in the butt.
Nice.
Go." That's very nice. That's very kind. Right? And then there's those mentors every now and then that you need to say, "You loser. You said you were going to do this and you're not doing it. You're hiding out. You're doing other things." And there's so much value to that. It's really interesting in our business with Pennywise because we give advice, right? That's what we do. We are, in essence, coaches, mentors. Although we help implement, we help do the work in a lot of instances. But what I found in this business that's really interesting is our business different from the rest of the industry. So most people in their businesses have a lot of shame and guilt around their numbers. They either don't know their numbers, which we've talked about a million times on this show, and we'll talk about 10 million more times, or they know some numbers and hide out from the rest of them, right? So
Yeah.
how much money did you make last year? I don't know. How much revenue did you generate? I don't know. How did last month look? I don't know. Or they say, I have $1 million business, but they'll ignore how much profit it actually generated.
Yeah.
Right? You have $1 million business and $1.1 million in expenses. Ugh. So
Yeah.
they hide out from that. So and they do it out of shame, a little bit out of guilt. So I think it's been really important in our business to say, you know what? It's okay. We have a lot of people in this situation, and we're going to help you with it.
Yeah.
We're going to help give you clarity. We're going to help you understand this. So we're not approaching it with an iron fist and,
Yeah.
and putting the fear of God into people. We're saying, this is tax therapy, and we're
Yeah.
here to help, right?
Yep.
And a lot of people come to us because they've had other accountants that say, hey, you have $1 million business and $1.1 million in expenses. What is wrong?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Like what?
And that's it.
Yeah.
Just
Why?
what is wrong with
why
you?
is this happening?
Yeah.
And the chances are the person doesn't know. They don't realize it until you just put their books together for them, and now they realize why there's no money in the bank, and it's because they lost money that
Yeah.
year. So I think it's really important to adapt the way that you hold, like to be a good mentor, hold someone accountable. To be a great mentor, adapt the way that you hold them accountable.
Mm-hmm.
There are some days where I need to kick down the door to your office and say, what are you doing?
Yes.
And then there are other days where I need to walk in burning incense and sit down softly in the chair and
Do you
ask what's
remember what you
happening.
said to me the one time we were doing?
I
It was
probably
one of
don't
our
remember
marketing
this.
meetings, and I remember because I cried.
A good mentor will make you cry.
Yeah. We were doing math, and we were trying to find the numbers, and I struggle with this every single time that we have these meetings, and it was just like a breakdown. But I remember you came back and you're like, okay, we got to keep going with this, but I can teach you in this way, or I can teach you in the hard way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And it was like, and I remember
Let me explain what it was.
Yeah.
Is I could have stood at that whiteboard with a marker in my hand and written the numbers and done the math for you.
yes.
Or I could ask you the questions that you had to answer to provide the numbers to get to the conclusion. So it was like would you rather sit and listen to me explain this, or would you rather run the gauntlet?
Yeah. And I chose to run the gauntlet.
You chose the gauntlet.
Yeah. 4 years ago, I would have said something completely different.
Just do it for me.
Please.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay. Was that the end of the story?
Well, yes, it was to the point of saying
And my approach to it.
yeah, the approach is you knew that there were, you knew the easy way I would have stopped crying and you could have just given me the answer and it could have just diffused, or said, but to get you to learn, to get you to understand, I can give you the guidance this way instead,
Yeah.
and the advice this way.
I gave you the choice.
Yeah.
Because I had a pretty good inkling of which option you would choose.
Yes.
There are other people that I would have just handed them a box of tissues and said, we're getting to work on this.
Yes.
Right? I wouldn't have given them the option.
Yeah.
Because a good mentor knows what you need.
Yeah.
So we only have a couple minutes left. I do want to give some homework on this.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
All right. Well, I guess I wasn't holding you accountable. Here's what I want to do. We started off the show talking about you will have multiple mentors at a time. You will have multiple mentors over your life. Mm-hmm. Pull out your pen and paper. Hopefully it's your Maverick Mindset Radio notebook that you purchased at maverickmindsetradio.com using the code Maverick 10% off. Nice. And write down 3 to 5 people that you admire.
Yeah.
And it doesn't just need to be in the business world, right? These could be great parents, great spouses, great business people, great leaders, comedians, whatever. Don't pick any politicians. And write down the 3 to 5 people that you admire, and then write down what you admire most about them. Because it'll help you just organize your thoughts about this. The people that you think of when you're making decisions, these are the people that are going to make this list.
Yeah.
And you're going to realize a couple of things. One, what it is that they're doing that makes them great, and what you really admire. It'll give you some clarity on that. The other part of it is, the first time I did this, it actually helped me understand my core values.
Yeah.
I made a list of 4 people and wrote down what I admired about them, and it turned out that they were things that really matter to me. I like people who are creative. I like people who are impactful, and I like people who leave other people better than they found them.
Yes.
And it's like, whoa, that's actually me. So let's go
you
find some more of that. So, all right, great show. You got your homework. Go and find your mentors. Figure out what makes them great, and go crush it. I believe in you.